for Mr. Kevin Holden, because he promises yesterday he's just going to stay in that one spot and just eat some crackers and change of clothes there and get ready for today's program. Kevin, all jokes aside, certainly glad to have you on once again, breaking down another big game here in the ACC SEC Challenge. Let's start right there at the top. You were checking social media as we were talking. I was checking it as well about the Duke-Florida game. Great on paper, great on the court. Ended a little controversy.
Yeah, apparently there's some folks not real thrilled with the way the officiating came out in that game. And I guess so. I mean, I suppose it's a little bit, when you have a matchup like that, a little bit of it's going to be about the officiating, I suppose. But taking that out of the mix, that's a great matchup all the way around. You had, the stars on both ends. You had the defending national champs, a team that Duke would have loved to have faced last year. They got a chance to do it at Cameron Indoor. The atmosphere was just electric. The noise was great. Manny Diaz was in there trying to pull votes for the college playoff. It was awesome.
We talked with you yesterday when we were previewing this game, and that guy right there, Cameron Boozer, yet again, another crazy night for him. But to me, it was Isaiah Evans that had the big three there at the end. What'd you make of Evans there?
Yeah, so Isaiah Evans was trusted in that game, and he's been trusted in the past. But I think what we're starting to learn is John Shire is going to lean on some of the guys who have been around, right? Mm-hmm. Like this was last year's Duke team. Guys came in, they filled out a starting lineup, they were gone, right? There was a ton of one and dones, and there just wasn't a lot of continuity from the previous year. And I think Shire understands that Caleb Foster and Isaiah Evans and Malik Brown, these are guys that he's going to have to rely on. And Evans stepped up. I think the experience that he brings to the table is a nice offset, because look, Cameron Boozer is just supremely talented, but he's also played, I don't think he's played double-digit college games yet. So, they need some folks that can help that cause. They need, some experience that can help them kind of balance that out. And that's what they've got in Evans.
Absolutely. When you take a look at this Duke team overall, being able to play that game at home, what'd you make of the overall environment? It's one of the things that we touched on yesterday, because it's not an ACC game. It obviously wasn't a game against like a North Carolina or so, but it was a quality opponent that came into the building. When I saw it, everybody was going crazy. I have no idea what this means, but I saw the students doing all that. What's the vibe overall in the early part of the season there in Cameron Indoor?
Yeah, I think what you learn is, I mean, obviously it's an iconic venue. We know that. And a fan base that, I mean, they're called the Crazies for a reason, but they will show up for big games that aren't just against, UNC or NC State or another ACC rival. And that's impressive to me, because you have some fan bases that get up for the big opponents, but may not necessarily get up for a game like this. It's December. I suppose Duke kids are always thinking about classes, but most people are not thinking about classes in December. So the fact that they show up, and they were, it was a blackout, I believe. Everybody was dressed in black, so everybody was, coordinated and getting crazy. That part of it really is meaningful. I would think if you're a Duke player, it's a huge recruiting tool. Like all you have to do, I mean, not that you really need to sell Duke on anybody, but if you had a talented player that was coming in, just sit him on the court for that night, sit him in a section for that night, and just listen to that sound rain down in that tiny little space. Mm-hmm. It's something, man. It really is an incredible thing to see. And what it means for me is that, you do this in December. That means when you get to January, February, so on, it's going to be even bigger. And I can't imagine the noise when UNC's there. That's going to be crazy.
Kevin, we're going to get off topic here for a second, because as I was looking at those pictures, I wanted to get your opinion. Are you a coaches should be in suit and tie, or do you like this new wave where, everyone just wears quarter zips and stuff?
I don't mind it. I mean, Shire, to me, Shire looks fine to me. Like, I don't lose any kind of, respect or anything for him based on how he's dressed there on the side. I think if you asked me that question 20 years ago, I would have answered it differently. Because I kind of like the idea of coaches being this, like, they would be suited and they would be like the pictures of whatever. But I think over time I've kind of turned into a fan more of like the you don't want to be overly energetic, but you want to be, relatable, I think, to the players. And that may be really the biggest thing, is that there aren't a lot of 19 or 20-year-olds are going to be super comfortable around somebody with a suit. They're just not used to that yet. You can save that for when you get into the real world. But no, I'm all right with it. Shire to me, and the other thing about Shire is he's a terrific interview. He's authentic. He will. He'll tell you, he won't just feed you stuff. He'll tell you what he wants to tell you, and he'll do it in an honest way.
Absolutely. Day 2 of the ACC SEC Challenge features a really interesting matchup as NC State plays Auburn. 2 first-year head coaches, Will Wade there with the Wolfpack, and then Stephen Pearl taking over for his father, Bruce Pearl. What are some of the things that stand out about this matchup here in the ACC SEC?
Well, okay, this was a perfect transition since we're talking about coaches and how they wear and what they wear and how they act. Because, man, Will Wade is a fireball of energy. That dude he's bona fide. He's bona fide. He is in the first game of the season when they were playing North Carolina Central, he was in a referee's face for a good chunk of that second half. And I'm thinking to myself, it's NC Central, coach. It's the first game. You don't have to do this in the first game of the year. So what that means is that energy has brought a different sort of energy to the program, and it's mostly a good thing. They've brought in a lot of transfers with a ton of experience. They've done well. But this team has, to me, shown to be a little bit volatile in the first part of the season. They struggled with VCU. And after the VCU game, Will Wade said, look, we've got to tighten this up or we're going to get in trouble. And sure enough, they went to Maui. They lost to Seton Hall. And then they gave up more than 100 to Texas. And that Texas game is fascinating to me. NC State put up 97 points. 3 players top 20 in that game, 20 or more from 3 different NC State players. But they still lost. And that's the kind of thing that drives a coach like Will Wade crazy, because the high-flying stuff is cool, but he's going to want more defense out of his team. He's also going to want a better performance out of a guy like Darian Williams, which he will get. I mean, Williams scored 10 in that game, and he will put up better numbers, no question about it. But NC State is out of the top 25 because they're talented and just not refined yet. So Auburn's going to be a nice test for them at this point to see where they are post Hawaii. My guess is Will Wade had them running laps on the beach that whole time when they weren't playing, so they'll be ready.
You brought up defense, and that's what I was going to ask you about. Obviously, Will Wade brought a lot of his McNeese guys, including Quadir Copeland, to Raleigh there, but the defense really was lackluster, and as you mentioned, it basically made them lose the game against Texas. Do you have any concerns moving forward with that defense, or do you think Will Wade's got it under control now?
Yeah, no, I think it's a legitimate question, because it does go back. It goes back to the Seton Hall game. It goes back to VCU, where NC State would play, they would shoot well enough, and they were an efficient shooting team. But a team like VCU, which was basically just volume shooting their way into the game, it is going to continue to be an issue, because when that happens, you've got to be able to hold those percentages down. And they didn't do a very good job of that against VCU. So I think it's something that will creep up from time to time. There's enough talent on this team to be a top 25 team. No question in my mind on that. It's just a matter of how they gel and if they gel completely going into ACC play. And so I think I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk about NC State and defense. I'll put it that way.
Right, absolutely. Got a chance to hear from Will Wade about the defense of the struggles early on there as they get ready to play the Auburn Tigers.
We're going to have to look at some of our defensive stuff. I mean, these guys, we're just not where we need to be defensively. So I've got to look at all that when we get back and start watching on the plane tonight as we're flying back. But Pope hit some tough ones off the bounce, which he's career 36% 3-point shooter. That's going to happen. But we left 5 open a couple times. We just had too many mistakes. Some of it in the second half. I mean, when we had 5 or 6 guys we really trusted to play, so we had some guys out there that were very worn down. and so that was that was certainly disappointing, but just all systems break down defensively.
Kevin, one of the great things about the Raleigh, North Carolina area is that you've got 3 teams all within like 20 minutes of each other. UNC last night got a big win over Kentucky. What'd you make of the Tar Heels here so far this season?
All night last night, so I just watched it over here on the monitor. That's what we're doing now. We're just staying here until March because there seems like there's a big game every night. But to me, I thought UNC. The biggest thing there is Duke beating Florida, controversy aside, doing that at home, doing it in front of the fans is a really cool thing. But imagine going into Lexington, into Rupp Arena, and doing something against Kentucky, no matter where they are, up or down that that ladder. The UNC doing that is a huge boost. And I can't, every time I'm looking at UNC this year, and I know it's it's an overhauled roster. Caleb Wilson's been tremendous. Henri Vissar has been great. But I cannot help but remember UNC last year dealing with the talk for the last 6 weeks of the season before the tournament about how they weren't a tournament team. And then they got in as the very last team, the 68th team. They went to Dayton. They won a game. They went to Milwaukee and got to play in the round of 64, which was good experience. But I think what they take from that, at least the guys that return and Coach Hubert Davis, of course, is the fact that there were doubters, there were non-believers, and I think there's a little extra motivation on their end for Davis and his group to kind of prove some people wrong, to show that this group is a better group, but also a group that can go far in the NCAA tournament. If there was any doubt, there it was. And by the way, here's your crazy stat of the week. UNC has beaten Kansas and Kentucky in the same season. That's happened one other time. 1981, 1982, Michael Jordan's first college game was a win over Kansas.
Okay.
Kevin, you brought up a point there that kind of hurts me a little bit about UNC being the last team in the tournament, being a West Virginia grad last year, and that one kind of hurt a little bit. But it's all good.
It's, and the thing with that is, you probably could have thrown the resumes of 6 or 7 or 8 teams there, and I think they all would have been worthy. Mm-hmm. And of course, it didn't help the cause that Bubba Cunningham was tied into the committee that chose UNC. So controversy abounds.
It's all right because we're seeing that with the college football playoff right now.
That's
so
true.
I mean, it's just never gonna escape.
That's true. We saw on there that Kentucky held to 64 points. I think it was less than 10% from downtown. Is that more defense, cold shooting, or a combination of both?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna call that about 70% cold shooting.
Yeah.
But I will say UNC, last year they had so much trouble inside. They just the bigs were just a problem for UNC, and so this year they've increased in size. They've done that across the board positionally, but the bigs especially. So they are going to be a tougher defensive team, and they are definitely going to be focused on defense. Going into the season, that's how they hope to become the 25th best team and not 68th this year. But yeah, I do think it does at least play a part. I mean, I think UNC is a difficult defensive team. They're going to present problems for teams in the ACC.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much. Back-to-back days, you crushed it on both days.
We won't bother you tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
we'll let you go.
We'll let you have an off day tomorrow. But thank you literally for all your insights on Duke, Kentucky, and also North Carolina.
Yeah, anytime, guys. I'll be, like I said, this is my room. This is where I stay until the end of March. So just let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.